I guess I have said some controversial things about ships in Harry Potter, that I didn't like Neville and Luna and the way they got together in the movies, that I didn't think Ron and Hermione would last and they'd end up divorced, that I think Harry ending up with his high school girlfriend is a little too convenient to feel realistic for a man who spent his entire adolescence focusing on the fact he's got to kill a mass murdering psychopath and never really had any time to focus on himself and growing as a person. And then he just settles down with the first proper girlfriend he has. Give the man time to figure out who he is, what he values outside of defeating Voldemort. Anyway, I thought it would be fun to rank every Harry Potter ship. So I started Googling, and look, some of these ships are ridiculous. Lucius and Dobby, are you joking? I guess there are endless possibilities for which two characters could end up together. Little exercise in originality. Can I think of a ship that no one else has ever mentioned? I don't reckon anyone's ever put Firenze with Aberforth. Maybe they have, because of the whole goat animal thing with Aberforth that the internet had a field day with. Centaurs, goats, not too dissimilar. Exercise for the comments. Leave me the most original ship you can think of. Maybe we'll do a part 2 with this where I rank your original ideas. But please try not to put children with adults. Anyway, there were too many ships on Google for me to find and rank, so I just found a pre-made tier list. So let's go through it and see what we think. Hopefully there are no children and adults on here. But right off the bat, I'm seeing Snape and Harry. Jesus Christ. Okay, up first we've got Ginny and Neville. I like this, especially in the Goblet of Fire when they went to the Yule Ball together. Like, I kind of liked that as a pairing. Like, they were both very much quiet outsiders at this point, right? Ginny hadn't found her voice. She was still living in the shadow of having been possessed by Voldemort and having been responsible for opening the Chamber of Secrets and almost killing a bunch of Muggleborns. That kind of trauma sticks with you for a while, I imagine. And Neville was still very timid, hadn't really found his core group of friends to instill confidence in him like happens in the Order of the Phoenix. So I liked it for the Goblet of Fire. I think long term as a ship, like Neville is just in Harry's shadow too much. And don't get me wrong, he breaks out of it. But like top level stuff, could have been the chosen one, but it was Harry. Only really becomes the leader of the rebellion after Harry doesn't go to Hogwarts in the 7th year. And so I feel like Neville with Ginny, who actually ends up being Harry's soulmate or whatever, as great as Ginny is, it feels like a disservice to him. The characters do match. I feel like they have plenty in common. They're both brave. They lead the rebellion together in the Deathly Hallows. I don't hate it. They have enough in common. We're gonna go like them for Neville and Ginny. Up next we have got, is that Pansy Parkinson and Hermione? Do they ever have any semblance of a positive interaction? I feel like there's loads of this in ship culture, and like, I'm not gonna shame anyone for their ships, but like Draco and Hermione, that's a big one, isn't it? They never even have a remotely positive interaction. In fact, Hermione punches him in the face. And I know there's a big enemies to lovers trope, and there's a fine line between love and hate, and anger and passion, but like Hermione and Pansy don't even have that anger. It's not a proper rivalry, really. Pansy's just kind of a piece of rubbish who says and does awful things because she wants to impress Draco or whatever. I'm gonna put it in I don't like / I don't mind. Like, I'm not gonna vomit. It's not making me feel disgusting. You know, if they met when they were like 25, Hermione had recently broken up with Ron, she was feeling vulnerable, and I don't know, they're in a bakery, and I don't know, they meet on the street and they realize, having matured and come away from high school drama, not being involved in a big wizarding worldwide war, that they have stuff in common. I don't know what stuff. If they hit it off 10 years after the series ended, fine. I would prefer if I don't mind and I don't like were separate tiers, because this would be in the I don't like. My reaction is not strong enough to vomit though. Harry and Cedric. Interesting. I've never really thought about this. There is a mutual respect there, isn't there? And they have a lot in common. Triwizard champions, both seekers. Both of them get hit by the killing curse in the Harry Potter series, so one of them wakes up from it. I don't know if that could be your common ground on your first date, mostly because Cedric would be a corpse if it was. But look, I don't hate it. They have stuff in common. Their taste in women, they certainly have that in common. And look, organically down the line as adults, reminiscing on the Triwizard tournament and how crazy it was that Harry's name came out as the 4th champion, I think I could go for I like them. You can't see the top of his head, but I think that's Draco, right? That's Hermione and Draco. And it's like I was saying before, when do they have an interaction that makes you think, I can see these two getting together? Like, forget the tropes from other books. Forget that enemies to lovers thing that people love to cling to. You name me a chapter in Harry Potter where these two seem like they might just end up kissing. Can't think of one. It just wouldn't happen. Again, I'm not gonna vomit. We're saving that for the really freaky stuff. But I don't like it. I don't think it's a very realistic ship. And Lord knows if they ended up together, it would last about 3 minutes. Draco has got gaslighting maniac written all over him. No way Hermione's standing for that. Okay, then we got Cho and Cedric. And look, this screams power couple. Before the controversy with Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively, I would have said this could have been the Hogwarts equivalent. Two high achievers, both considered extremely extremely attractive, extremely intelligent, great at Quidditch, fantastic wizard and witch in their own right. Like, I know there's a sour taste in our mouth about this because of the whole Harry fancying Cho thing, and Harry is our main character, but I really like this. OTP, that's one true pairing, right? So I can only put one there. So I'm gonna drop these in I love them for now, and at the end, we might have to take something from I love it and choose it as my one true pairing. Okay, up next we've got, I think that's Pansy and Blaze. These pictures are quite small, but I'm pretty sure that's Pansy. It's hard to conclude anything about these two because we see so little of them in the story. Like, Blaze gets a bit more of a time to shine in the films because of what happened with one of the either Crabbe or Goyle actors, I don't remember which. So Blaze steps up and fills that role because they can't be in it anymore. But like, apart from just being behind Draco and shouting the odd jeer and the odd insult here and there, and Blaze's stint in the Slug Club, which is still quite a small part, right? The odd sentence here and there. I feel like there's not enough about them. This just has to go in the I don't mind. Like, they both kind of seem like they have enough in common that they're kind of terrible people. Does that scream chemistry? Longevity? Not necessarily. We can't put them with Ginny and Neville. We can't put them with Harry and Cedric. They're gonna have to just go in the meh category. Okay, up next we've got Draco and Blaze. Again, we don't know a ton about Blaze, but we at least get more interactions between him and Draco, and we know a bit more about Draco to sort of base that on. But again, both quite pompous, value entirely the right things, both have problematic parents, you know, Lucius the Death Eater and Blaze's mother being a serial killer. I don't think that's necessarily canon, but it's very, very strongly hinted at, so we're sticking with it. Like, again, this is fine. Like, I could put it in I like them. They seem like a good match. Yeah, we'll move them to I like them. That's fine. All right, Ginny and Hermione. Kind of love it, I think. They feel like opposite sides of the Gryffindor spectrum, right? Like, Hermione is the Gryffindor Ravenclaw hybrid, and Ginny is the Gryffindor Slytherin hybrid. Like, Hermione, for all her bravery and her loyalty, she's also calm and measured. She thinks things through. Whereas Ginny is a bit more instinctive, and I feel like they really complement each other in that respect. That said, I can see them butting heads. You know how Hermione and Luna butt heads because they're both so headstrong, but like unwilling to concede or see the other person's point of view? Or it's more that Hermione's just unwilling to see Luna's point of view? I can kind of see that happening with Ginny and Hermione as well. Like, I think they work as sisters-in-law. Not quite so much if they were together themselves. So we can't put them in I love them, we're gonna put them in I like them. Oliver Wood and Percy Weasley just feels like the most chaotic, unhinged, doomed for despair relationship. Percy would be trying to talk about legislation and ideology, about the political makeup of the wizarding world and how he wants to improve things, starting with cauldron bottoms all the way up to relationships with muggles, or the fact that a lot of people in Azkaban don't have trials. And he'd get so frustrated that Oliver Wood just wants to talk about the new beta for the Holyhead Harpies, wants to talk about how Gryffindor could have won the championship, but Harry Potter just wasn't there for the final game of their first year. I think they would make a fantastic sitcom couple, but a real-life couple, I just don't think there's anything in it. Okay, Sheamus and Lavender. They're both a bit annoying at times. Lavender, when she just falls in love with Ron when he clearly is not interested. I say clearly, he snogs her and definitely leads her on for a while when he clearly likes Hermione. Definitely not her fault. Sheamus, when he decides that he doesn't believe Harry or Dumbledore and he's just gonna be really hot-headed and antagonistic about it. I think there's an unhinged chaos that could work here. Like, I just imagine them to have such a chaotic life that even if they were together, they'd be ships in the night, right? They'd never be at home at the same time, but it would be like a whirlwind romance. Like, they genuinely love each other, it's just chaotic. And they'd definitely butt heads and they'd bicker and they'd argue all the time. They'd probably have like 3 or 4 kids. They'd both hate their in-laws. It actually feels like a soap opera couple, like an EastEnders couple, you know? And for that reason, I kind of love them. Okay, this is just the bodies of McGonagall and Dumbledore, I think. And I feel like Fantastic Beasts retconned how old McGonagall was. Like, by having her teaching when Newt visits Hogwarts, it makes her seem way older than she actually is. Like, I'm pretty sure she's barely supposed to have been born when those films are taking place, which means there is a massive, massive age gap between her and Dumbledore. And if she'd barely been born when Dumbledore was already teaching at Hogwarts in the Fantastic Beasts series, then he would have been her professor before she eventually graduated and became a teacher herself. So we're just gonna go ahead and vomit at that one. Like, I think objectively, as they are in characters in Harry Potter, they have some things in common. But frankly, I feel like whenever Dumbledore is being whimsical, McGonagall is gonna be rolling her eyes. There's a reason Dumbledore told so much of his plan to Snape and not McGonagall. Not because he doesn't trust McGonagall, but because he knows she's gonna call him out on how much of it is bloody ridiculous.
What do you mean you're raising Harry Potter as a pig for slaughter? Not on my bloody watch, you're not!
Okay, up next, we're gonna vomit again. It's Snape and Harry. Even regardless of the age difference, up until the chapter The Prince's Tale, these two just despise each other. And again, it's the whole, oh, enemies to lovers. No. No. When one of you is a grown man and a teacher, and the other one is an 11-year-old boy, and you are torturing and bullying and humiliating him in front of his classmates, it's not enemies to lovers. That is abusive. Plus, the age difference, we're vomiting at this one as well. Okay, Ginny and Draco. I just really struggle to see Draco with any of the characters that I see as like good people, because I know we would like a bigger redemption arc for him, but the fact is he doesn't get one. I haven't seen The Cursed Child, and as far as I'm aware, that doesn't give him enough of a redemption arc either. And so I just feel like all the things that Ginny values as a good person, who wants other people to be good people, Draco is not. Now, if ever there was a person who could straighten him out, because every time he did his spoilt brat, cowardly, self-important, Lucius-like whining, that bat bogey hex that she's famous for is going to come out and set him straight. That would happen all the time, and I just don't know if it's a healthy relationship if she has to curse her partner all the time. So I don't like it, I'm afraid. Okay, next up we've got Hagrid and Madame Maxime. I don't know if this is controversial. I don't like it. Like, the idea of it to begin with, Hagrid having a crush, him like brushing his hair, putting on cologne, making an effort, being persistent, and her eventually agreeing to go out with him. That was the end of their story and they stayed together, fine. But then she is awful to him. Like, the way she reacts to their conversation about being half giant. And like, I know when they go off to see the giants in the Order of the Phoenix, she basically saves Hagrid's life. And, you know, that's nice. When it comes to bringing Grawp home, Hagrid's like, oh yeah, she knew it was important to me, but she got kind of tired with him, so we just sort of split up. She left him to take Grawp back by himself. I'm not saying bringing Grawp back was a particularly good idea, but Grawp's obviously dangerous. We see what he does to Hagrid's face. And she's just like, your problem. So I'm sorry, I wouldn't have forgiven her. I wouldn't have taken her back. I don't like it. Hagrid is gentle and he is sensitive and he should not be taken advantage of. He should not be taken for granted. Lucius and Narcissa. I guess two dreadful people probably are quite well suited to one another, aren't they? Now, do I think a better suited couple would maybe check each other on their really toxic behavior? Someone who was maybe a better ship for Lucius might have been like, hey, maybe don't bring this mass murdering psychopathic dark wizard into our family home when our teenage son lives here. It's not screaming, bringing out the best of each other. But in the same way that misery loves company, I guess toxic parents love toxic parents, so we'll kind of go in. It's not that I like them, I just think they're maybe well suited. Okay, up next is Sirius and Remus, the fabled Wolfstar, if you will. And I don't know what to tell you, I love this. I think if this had been canon, the extra layer it would bring to, you know, the betrayal of the Potters when Remus actually thinks it was Sirius. And I guess Sirius's betrayal in thinking, oh my gosh, Remus, we are in love. How could you think I would do such a thing? And then them rekindling in the Shrieking Shack. It would have brought so much more to the story if it was canon. I love them. I don't know what to tell you. I love them. I think it's a great ship. Harry and Hermione. On paper, I think they're reasonably well suited, but we need more platonic relationships in the media. And this is a great example of two people who can get close and love each other platonically. And if we want to break the whole friend zone stigma, you know, the whole, oh, I was friend zoned. What do you mean friend zoned? Why are you saying that like it's a negative thing? Am I not worth more to you than just the idea that we could eventually romantically be involved? Is there not value in our friendship? No, you led me on. I hate you. We need more examples of people just being friends and that being fruitful and that being enough. And I actually love this for Harry and Hermione, that at no point do they look like getting together. They are just best friends who love each other as best friends. So we're sticking it in I might vomit. Like, it doesn't make me that sick, the idea of it, but I'm so happy with them as friends. I don't want any romantic bits between them, you know? So I think this is an old picture of Grindelwald and Dumbledore. And I gotta say, I actually really like the Grindelwald-Dumbledore story from the Deathly Hallows. The way it sets up that Dumbledore has actually always been kind of morally ambiguous, that he was with somebody who did some awful things. But I think the reason I like it is because they were so bad for each other and it gives that ambiguity to Dumbledore's character. So, you know, I like them as a couple. I don't think they're a particularly healthy couple. And I realize my criteria for ranking has been all over the place. Are they good for each other? Do they suit each other? Do I just like them as a couple in the text? There's no consistency here, but we're putting this one in I like them. Who is this with Draco? Is that Pansy again? Didn't we already do Pansy and Draco? No, we did Pansy and Blaise and Pansy and Hermione. Oh, is this when she's like, does it hurt, Draco? I think as with Blaise and Draco, they are clearly two people who value the same things. They're awful things, but they're the same things. They're also both toxic, self-aggrandizing. They would raise the most narcissistic children. So again, like Blaise and Draco, not the healthiest relationship, but I kinda see it working. Snape and Lily. Do you remember a moment ago when I talked about platonic relationships and how being friends with somebody who isn't romantically interested in you is still a wonderful thing that we should find wonderful value in? I feel like Snape is the wrong side of that. Like, she's not interested, she marries someone else, he's still kind of obsessed with her, and it makes him miserable and toxic for his entire life. Like, I don't know if Snape really loved Lily. I think he was just kind of obsessed with her. I think he thought he loved her. But the idea of them actually being together, of him putting her on this pedestal, pining after her for so long, even when she's married, even when she has a child with somebody else, and him thinking he loves her, but being willing to let her husband and child die just so she stays alive. If he loved her, he would know that's not what she wanted. She wouldn't be okay with her husband and son dying. Snape was okay with that happening so long as she was still there for him. That's not love. That is obsession. And I would vomit if they ended up together, because it's just all the makings of some toxic, one-sided relationship where she would never live up to this pedestal he'd put her on, and it would just all fall apart. I don't think it's a good ship. So look, I know I love Wolfstar, but that doesn't make me inherently hate Tonks and Lupin. Like, I know there are theories out there that Tonks and Lupin were only written to stifle fan theories about Wolfstar, but on the face of it, as a couple, like, I don't like Lupin as a person, but he's so highly strung, and I think somebody who's a bit looser doesn't take life quite as seriously, just like Tonks. They kind of complement each other. Do I love that he wants to run out on her while she's pregnant? No, I do not. But I would say I like them as a couple. I don't love them, I like them. Frank and Alice, everything we know about them is just that they were great people. And, you know, all the way through to being tortured into insanity, they held the same beliefs, the same principles. And, you know, seeing what we see in St. Mungo's, seeing the kind of person that Neville ends up being. Like, I know he didn't have long being raised by them, but some of that has to be genetics, right? If it wasn't Frank and Alice, we wouldn't have got Neville, and I wouldn't want Neville any other way with anyone else's genes. So we're gonna love them. We're gonna love them. I don't think they're gonna get to the OTP, but we'll love them. Neville and Luna. Okay, everyone say it with me. Two people can be good friends without it getting romantic between them. I hate what they did with Neville and Luna in the movies. These two have wonderful, complete story arcs, wonderful growth. They are incredible people. They are great friends with each other and with the rest of the DA. We don't need to tie it up in a little bow and give them a love interest. And the love interest certainly doesn't have to be each other. Like, I'm not necessarily going to vomit, but my feelings are stronger than just I don't like it, so we're putting it in the bottom tier. Harry and Cho. I don't hate it. Like, I know it's a disaster in the Order of the Phoenix, right? Their interactions, the couple of dates they go on, dreadful. But they're, what, 14, 15 years old at that point? Going through a horribly traumatic time. We can't expect them to have emotional maturity, to have patience for each other, to go through the grief they're going through while going through the grief they're going through themselves. I think down the line, 10, 15, 20 years later, they could come back together, talk about, oh, do you remember that date in the tea shop? God, wasn't that dreadful? Ha ha ha, yes it was dreadful. Ha 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 ha. Do you remember those Quidditch games that we played? Oh yes, ha 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 ha. And do you remember when you asked me to the Yule Ball, but then Cedric had already asked me, and then you just sort of stared at me across the hallway for the entire evening? Ha 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 ha. Like, if you take all the awkwardness of being a teenager out of things, and all the mess of just having lost Cedric out of things, I actually think these two are pretty well suited. Much like Cedric and Cho, they are both high achievers, they are both very gifted witches and wizards, they're both great at Quidditch, and they love Quidditch. I wish there was a really like tier, because I don't know that it's as high as I love them. I would probably put them with Alice and Frank in the I really like them tier. We'll leave them in I love them, because I like them more than like Blaise and Draco, for example. Mind you, I like them, I think, as much as I like Harry and Cedric, or Neville and Ginny. Like, these four need to be in a tier of their own. It's like the low end of love them, high end of like them needs to be its own little niche category. Because, like, I like Harry and Cedric more than I like Blaise and Draco, but I don't like them as much as I like Cedric and Cho. We'll leave it like this, it'll be fine. So here, I'm assuming it's not Draco's wife and Draco's child. We're talking about Draco and his wife, who I think is Astoria Greengrass? Correct me if I'm wrong, we know nothing about her apart from the fact that she had a child with Draco in the 19 years later. So it's kind of a nothing ship, right? It has to go in the I don't care category. Luna and Draco. Can't say I've ever given this much thought. I weirdly don't hate it. Like, I've made videos in the past where I talk about how Xenophilius raised Luna with a bunch of misinformation. And that's borderline abusive parenting, right? Like, imagine a kid is 15 in your school and they genuinely believe that unicorns are real because their parents told them they were. And they have a stick of dynamite on their wall, a real one that could explode, because their parents told them it was an ancient Egyptian pen or something. Like, being raised to believe that much misinformation as though it's fact fact. It's abusive. I'll die on that hill. And Draco, in his own way, was raised in an abusive household. Like, just read the Borgin and Burke's chapter from the Chamber of Secrets again, and listen to how Lucius talks about Draco to Draco. Listen to the things he's trying to sell to Borgin, because they're dangerous and illegal, but they are in his family home with his child. All the hate and prejudice that Malfoy has instilled within him. So, you know, they have that in common. They are both raised in very toxic places, with very toxic parents. I actually weirdly think they would maybe give each other some grace to work through it. You know, by the end of the series, Draco is second-guessing a bunch of the things that he has believed his whole life. Like, he knows the route his father went down, his father who he had on a pedestal for so long, is actually a terrible life path. Meanwhile, Luna is very open-minded. Misguided, certainly, but I weirdly like this as a couple. I think it kind of works in a chaotic kind of way. Plus, you just know that as soon as Draco tries to say anything horrible about anyone, Luna is shutting him down. So we can only see slithers of their heads, but I think this is Sheamus and Neville, which again, I kind of like in a, like an opposites attract kind of thing. Like, Sheamus is quite outspoken, he's quite confident, whereas Neville is a bit more reserved, a bit more thoughtful. Kind of like what I was saying before about how Hermione and Ginny are opposite ends of the Gryffindor spectrum. And I think Sheamus and Neville are too, but slightly less extreme. I kind of like it. Again, it's sort of between I like them and I don't mind them as a tier. We'll put it in I like them. Okay, I was wondering when this one would come up. It is Harry and Draco. In what world do we think there is anything romantic between them? You know, Draco calls Harry's best friend a mudblood, makes fun of his dead parents all the time. Harry also almost kills Draco in the Half-Blood Prince, but then I guess saves his life on the brooms coming out of the Fiend Fire Room of Requirement. I'm not gonna vomit, but I don't like it. Okay, Luna and Ginny. This is a popular one, popular for good reason. I really like it as a couple. In fact, for a long time, it feels like Ginny is the only person who treats Luna like she's a regular human being who deserves love and kindness and empathy and sympathy. When Ron calls her loony, Ginny tells her off for it. I think when Luna's commentating on the Quidditch, she talks about how, was it Zachariah Smith was being mean to her and Ginny teaches him a lesson? We love it. We love it. We love it. Okay, up next we've got Sheamus and Dean, another very popular one among fans online and offline too, probably. I don't hate it. I do think, again, it comes to the whole, we can have platonic friends who don't have to get together. But there are moments, right? Like in the Goblet of Fire, when Sheamus and Harry have their argument, Dean doesn't necessarily agree with Sheamus, but when Sheamus storms out, Dean goes after him. And there's like this awkward jealousy in, is it the Order of the Phoenix? Maybe the Half-Blood Prince, when Harry has to find replacement Quidditch players. Must be the Half-Blood Prince if Harry is the captain. And he picks Dean over Sheamus because Dean was the better flyer. And there's just a little bit of awkward tension, which is enough for me to think there's enough in this. I like them as a pairing. Do I love them? It's a high, again, it's in that sort of middle ground between them. We'll put them in I like them, but on the higher end. Like, at no point has this order meant anything until now, but now it does. Just for them. Okay, we've got one of the twins and Angelina Johnson. I'm not sure which twin, but canonically don't both twins end up with her? Like Fred until he dies, they're like boyfriend, girlfriend in high school. Then after he dies, doesn't George end up with her? Which I know sounds odd, but it's very common. Like, people who lose somebody close to them find a lot of common ground and a lot of comfort among the other people grieving their loss. So whichever twin it is, we're going for I like them. Harry and Ron. I actually don't know that I love this ship. Like, I know this whole time I've been banging on, like, you can be friends without getting together romantically. On the flip side, I also understand that they say a great fundamental foundation to a relationship is if you're, like, really good friends. A lot of people say, you know, they've married their best friend, and that's lovely, but also some best friends are a bit more like siblings. And I think Harry and Ron are a good example of this. And siblings should not be romantically involved with each other. Hopefully not a life lesson you need to learn. You know, Harry and Ron, they bicker, they argue, they fall out. They get hot-headed, they're a bit stubborn. Like, there's a ton of loyalty and a ton of love there, obviously. But no part of that screams anything other than like a brotherly love. Like Remus and Sirius I can see being together, but Sirius and James, not at all. And it's kind of the same with Harry and Ron. So we're just gonna go, I don't like them. Like, it doesn't make me want to vomit, but it's fine. So we've got Harry with Pavati Patil. Look, this was chaotic from the moment it first started in the Goblet of Fire to the moment it ended about 2 chapters later in the Goblet of Fire. Firstly, being asked as like a last resort. Secondly, Harry was just pining after Cho the whole time. Thirdly, Pavati clearly had a dreadful time at the Yule Ball. So it's just, again, not gonna vomit, but don't like it. So Harry and Ginny, look, I need to explain some things here. I think they're great as a couple. I think they work as a couple in high school. I also think as a narrative device it works because Harry is no longer just figuratively part of the Weasley family. He marries Ginny and he becomes actually a part of that family. And that was kind of always supposed to happen, right? And I'm going to repeat myself a little bit with Ron and Hermione when we come on to that. I understand some people end up with their high school sweetheart, and that's fine. It's normal and it's great and it's lovely. Whenever I make these points, people in the comments say, I ended up with my high school sweetheart, it happens, it's not ridiculous. I'm not saying it's ridiculous. What I am saying is, these kids hit myself in the face. These kids have been through so much in the Harry Potter series. They don't get a whole lot of time to just be normal kids and figure out what kind of people they are going to be. Harry goes from the boy who lived to the chosen one to the person who defeated Voldemort. And at no point in that journey can he really sit and be like, who am I? What's important to me? What do I care about? What do I enjoy doing? Because he's too busy thinking about, oh my god, I'm 11 years old and I just melted a grown man's face with my hand. Oh my gosh, every time these Dementors come near me, I hear my murdered mother screaming in my head. I'm in a tournament where I could die. Gosh, my blood just helped resurrect the most evil dark wizard of all time. Now I'm starting a child army rebellion. Oh, the prophecy says either I have to murder someone or be murdered. And so, when Voldemort is defeated, the idea that Harry just settles down with Ginny from that moment for the rest of his life just feels wild. Like the man needs to go off and figure out what he's about. If he does that and they come back together in like 10 years, fine. But this man just needs to be Harry Potter the person for a while. To think about himself, not think about his girlfriend, then fiance, then wife. That said, I think as characters, they do make sense together. Just circumstantially, how their relationship plays out, I don't love it. For that reason, we'll go, I like them, middle of the road. Ron and Hermione then, again, I don't hate Ron and Hermione. I think on paper they work as a high school couple. I just don't think they work endgame. Like, what do they have in common? They have totally different work ethics. I know we get that moment in the Deathly Hallows where Ron's like, what about the house elves? But apart from that, he mocks Hermione whenever she is doing anything to do with SPW. He uses her to copy her homework all the time. Like, none of that screams mutual respect. Like, I love Ron. Ron is maybe my favorite character between him and Luna. But while he's like that, Hermione is this high-flying, ambitious, high achiever, and I'm really worried he's just going to want her to be an extension of Molly Weasley, to sort of mother him. That's the vibe I get from them as long-term couples, and that just screams a couple that doesn't last. So like I say, on paper, as characters, I think they work as a high school couple. I don't think they work long-term. We'll put them in I like them. I definitely don't love them. And here's the thing, I am aware that I have put Ron and Hermione and Ginny and Harry lower than I've put Harry and Cho, but I just think it's, if we're thinking about when they're 40, 50 years old, if Ron and Hermione and Harry and Ginny have been together since they were 15, 16, I think they're less likely to last, as opposed to if Harry and Cho get back together when they're like 30 years old. Okay, Ron and Lavender. I think Lavender gets a bit of a bad rep. I've said this in a video as well, and people in the comments told me which one it was, and I can't remember. Bad rap. A bad rep. I think I said it about Lavender in exactly the same context. Is it rep for reputation or rap as in like a rap sheet, like a bad rap sheet? Like what you get when you're arrested? I don't know. Anyway, I think she gets a bad one, whatever the word is. Like she's irritating, particularly in the movie, right? When she's in a relationship with Ron. But she's 15 and she thinks she's in love. Give her a break. That said, Ron has a really low tolerance for people who are being irritating. So I don't think this really lasts very long. I don't think they're a particularly good match. Luna and Hermione. I don't like this. Time and time again, we see them butt heads because Hermione believes what she believes from books. Luna believes what she believes in her heart. And they're never really willing to concede to each other. So that just would never work. Up next, we've got Luna and Harry. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. I think Harry is quite often just thrust into situations. Like, I know his life is wild, but he's also kind of laid back. Like, he never really tries out for the Quidditch team. He's just sort of thrust into it. And he kind of accidentally happens upon all the adventures that he ends up going on. And so I actually kind of feel like a partnership with Luna works quite well because she'd thrust him into all of these situations. I think canonically, she goes on to be a magic zoologist, just like Newt Scamander was, right? Imagine the two of them traveling the world in all these wild situations with these crazy creatures. I also think Harry is easygoing enough to just sort of roll his eyes and laugh when she spouts her Xenophilius Lovegood misinformation nonsense. But at their core, they are two good, loving people with good hearts. I feel like I've talked this up the more I've talked about it. I was like, it's fine to begin with, but actually I think I kind of like it. I don't love it, but I kind of like it. Okay, Lily and James. So look, we know Lily is a great person pretty much all through her life. She has strong moral fiber. She sticks up for Snape when James is being an arse. She's also forgiving. She's loving. On the flip side, we know that James is an arrogant arse, but that he matures. Like Remus and Sirius talk to Harry about it when he sneaks into Umbridge's fireplace and calls them through the flu network after he's seen Snape's memories. You know, they say by his 7th year, he had matured into the kind of person that Lily was happy to go out with. And so it stands to reason that they had grown into remarkably similar people. You know, they're both happy to join the Order of the Phoenix to fight evil. Both of them willingly sacrifice themselves to save the people they love. So they're not going to be an OTP, but I do love them. Dean and Ginny, on paper, I think they work. In reality, she was crying all the time. They were arguing all the time. I understand that was a plot device to get Harry and Ginny together. First of all, to build up his jealousy, make him realize that he liked her, and then put them together when things went south with Dean. But I just think any relationship where you are only together a few months and you're already crying constantly and fighting all the time, I don't like it. Again, doesn't make me vomit. Just don't like it. So this is Neville and I think Hannah Abbott, who he ends up marrying, like canonically. I don't think we know too much about Hannah Abbott. Is she also good at plants? What's the word for plants? In the greenhouses. Professor Sprout teaches it. Oh my god, my brain suddenly doesn't work. What is the word? What on earth is it called? Herbology. Oh my god, what happened? I think they're both good at herbology, which is enough in common for me. So yeah, I like them. They're fine. Much like Harry and Pavati, I think Ron and Padma are just a nightmare of a couple. Ron, again, basically makes sure that Padma has the worst time imaginable, to the point where I'm pretty sure she gets up halfway through and starts dancing with somebody else. So this, again, not gonna vomit, but don't like it. There's nothing there. So Ron and Luna. I know Super Carl and Brothers fans are going to really love Ron and Luna. And I have to say, after watching that video, I reacted to it. There's a link down in the description if you want to watch me reacting to the idea that Ron and Luna are soulmates. I'm slightly more on board than I was before I'd heard the theory, but not so much that I would say I like this. I don't really see any chemistry between them. I think there's maybe a mutual respect there, but that's kind of where it ends. So it's just sort of a meh ship. Snape and Hermione, I'm gonna vomit. No. Again, age difference, please. Plus, when Draco curses her and her teeth grow really big, bearing in mind her teeth are something we know she's insecure about anyway, and yet Draco makes them grow and they end up like down here, and Snape's like, I'm not sure I can tell the difference anyway. Horrible, horrendous bully of a man. I'm gonna vomit at this, absolutely not. Bill and Fleur. The way Fleur's relationship with Bill really subverts everyone's expectations of her. And her speech at the end of The Half-Blood Prince, after Greyback attacks Bill and he might turn into a werewolf, and his face is all scarred, and Mrs. Weasley is like, Fleur probably won't love you because you're not handsome anymore. Not in as many words, but she sort of hints that he's not going to get married because of it. Fleur takes offense and she stands up for herself and she's like, of course I still love him. I'm beautiful enough for the both of us. I love him for who he is in here. I am not shallow. I bloody love her for that. And as characters, I love Fleur. I love Bill. I love them as a couple. Absolutely yes. Is this Blaise and Ron? Do they ever even interact? Like, this looks like a picture from a rap party, which means they definitely don't have a scene together in the film, I guess. Outside of flying away from the Room of Requirements in the Deathly Hallows. There's nothing in it. There's nothing in it. I don't like it. A lot of people say Hermione should have ended up with one of the twins. I just don't get it. Like, the twins banter with everybody, so I don't think you can mix that with flirting. And every interaction that Hermione has with either of them, it's like, ugh, stop testing your prank sweets on first years. What are you doing? And I think there could be some flirtatious back and forth, like, oh, you're such a stickler for the rules. Oh, you're always breaking the rules. We're not breaking the rules, we're towing the line. But like, as a long-term couple, I kind of feel like Hermione would do to the twins what Molly did to them, which is kind of stifle their entrepreneurial spirit because they're not following the traditional path to success. You know, I'm not saying I don't understand where she's coming from. The side effects when magic goes wrong can be devastating. Look what happened to Harry's arm when Gilderoy Lockhart tried to fix it. And so it's not out of the realms of possibility that the twins could poison and kill a first year. I think she was kind of right stopping them from doing that. But the point is, I just don't see this flourishing into anything romantic. And if it did, I don't think it would last very long because they'd probably get on each other's nerves. We're going don't like it. Molly and Arthur, I kind of love them. I don't think they're perfect parents, but they kind of almost always present themselves as a united front when they're parenting. Arthur is a bit more hesitant. He's a bit more reluctant to be strict and back his wife up, but despite the hesitancy, he still mostly does it. And I just think their dynamic, the love in their house, the kids they raise together, the way they support each other, other through Percy leaving, for example. The way they reminisce to sneaking out around Hogwarts when they were students. When Celestina Warbeck comes on, is it a cauldron full of hot love or something? And Mrs. Weasley tears up thinking about how she used to dance to it with Arthur. It's just, there's so much love there, and I love them. So the last one is Krum and Hermione. Hermione is 14 years old, I think, maybe 15, and Krum is 18, making him legally an adult and her legally a child. We're gonna pop that one in the I may vomit space with no further explanation. Okay, so we have our love them tier. We just need to pick one OTP, and I think it's going to be between Cedric and Cho, Remus and Sirius, James and Lily, Bill and Fleur, and Arthur and Molly. I think as great as they probably are together, we don't get enough of Lily and James together to put them as the OTP. Probably the same with Cedric and Cho. I really like the idea of them together, but, you know, Cedric dies too soon to really see how that flourishes. You know, we'll never see what kind of adults they turn into. I love Remus and Sirius, I love Bill and Fleur, and I love Arthur and Molly. I think Bill and Fleur, we just don't quite see enough of them together as a couple. Like, they're very strong. What we do see of them is wonderful. So I think my OTP of couples who aren't actually together are Remus and Sirius, and my OTP of couples who are actually together are Molly and Arthur. There's my loophole. Those are my OTPs. And while this was all about love and couples, what have I ranked death? In this video, I rank the saddest deaths from the Harry Potter series, so you might want to watch that one next.